What's going on, all you Minties? This is the Uncanny Omar from Near Mint Condition, and join me today for an overview of the Gideon Falls Book 1 Deluxe Edition from Image Comics, so stay tuned. So here we have Gideon Falls Book 1, The Legend of the Black Barn, and that is something really important to talk about because I think there was a misconception out there that this was an all-in-one volume, but it is just Book 1. This collects issues 1 through 16 of the series. But here is the barn, even though it's called the Black Barn. It has a red tone to it. And one of my favorite things about this is the way, I'm not sure if you can tell or not, it's the feel of the actual barn compared to the black. There we go. Maybe you can tell there. And how flat this is compared to the gloss that is on the actual barn. And Gideon Falls, there we have the spine, volume 1. So there will be a second volume, and then the back of the book. It is rated mature, and the book retails for $49.99. Now, this has been previously released in, of course, single issues and a series of trade paperbacks. The first 3 trade paperbacks making up... I gotta find out who I lent my first trade paperback to so I can give them away. The first 3 trade paperbacks making up this particular deluxe edition. So there is no dust jacket. I can't really think of many Image comics that are collected in deluxe editions that have dust jackets, with the exception of Invincible. It's one of the few series that has a dust jacket on each of the 12 volumes. Most of the series that are collected in deluxe hardcover editions at Image are very much like Gideon Falls with art on the board. Alright, so let's go ahead and get this book open and talk a little bit about it. I did want to compare it to the size of other deluxe editions. It's the same dimensions. So let's go ahead and get this opened. We have some black bookend pages. This image here of this cloudy sky. Gideon Falls, The Legend of the Black Barn. That's what book 1 is called. There is an introduction here by Jack Thorne, who has done papers and essays and books on the series Twin Peaks. As a matter of fact, there's quite a number of comparisons that he makes with Twin Peaks. And I'll be honest with you, I love Twin Peaks, and I never made any of those comparisons when reading these stories in trade paperback formats. Here are the creators of the books, mainly, of course, written by Jeff Lemire, the art by Andrea Sorrentino, and then the colors by Dave Stewart. Now, Jeff Lemire and Andrea Sorrentino have worked together before in the pages of Marvel, with Old Man Logan, and with Green Arrow at DC Comics. So, it kicks off with issue number 1. You have the cover here on the left-hand side, and yes, that purposely looks like a human being shape, that city map. And then we're introduced to the character of Norton, who has this obsession with collecting trash. However, he thinks there's something else going on, the big conspiracy theory. But is it really a conspiracy theory? And that's what this story is about. We have 2 people telling stories. There's 2 linear stories going on at the same time. 2 different places. So Norton, the guy that's obsessed with trash, collecting trash all over the city, because he sees the world a little bit different. And then later on he involves his psychiatrist, Dr. Shu, who becomes a bigger part of the story. And then we have the story of Father Fred, who's been sent to this small town where another priest had just, well, let's just say he been taken out of commission, and the town folk, well, they're a little bit odd at first, but he gets to meet all of them through there. Now, both of them are connected because of this vision, there's Dr. Shu, of the Black Barn, and that's pretty much how the stories are connected, whether the Black Barn is a real thing, this mythical location that appears both in the city and in this small little town where Father Fred is, and what it brings. There's creepy imagery in here. So how do I best describe this series? Because this was in my top 13 best horror comics, and I still stand by that. I think it is a good horror comic, mainly because of images like that. That's not the only creepiest thing you're going to find through these pages. But it's also got some sci-fi twist in here, and a whole mystery of who done it too, because there's this whole murder that has to be solved within the first 6 issues. But the least I say about it, the better off you are. and finding out for yourself what makes this work. I do love this image right here of the Black Barn. It's a lot of red, a lot of contrast there. And something you've probably noticed from the artwork is the color tones. And of course, Andrea Sorrentino's artwork. So that's one thing I do appreciate. This isn't a big spoiler. This is the very beginning of the mystery of whodunit with issue number 1. But what I was going to say is that's something that I really appreciate about Andrea Sorrentino's artwork, fitting the tone of this particular story. It's a very artistic choice that he makes. The inking and the shadows are loosely defined, and they aren't solid, like he does with most of his art that we've seen throughout the pages of, like I mentioned, Old Man Logan, or the pages of Green Arrow. But it gives it a slightly unsettling appearance, no matter where you are, whether you're in Norton's apartment or whether you're in the small town with Father Fred. And of course, Dave Stewart's colors really add to that. Sorrentino seems to be experimenting with some of the paneling going on. Sometimes it can be a little confusing, but I think that's all done on purpose, especially going back and rereading this stuff. I will say, having read this is a little bit different art style right here, but that's a little bit of a spoiler. Having read this the first time when I did a review of it, I didn't like the book. I thought it was too slow. It was kind of boring. It wasn't until I read the second volume that I got hooked, and the slow burn started to pay off some. What happened was, in the first 6 issues, and you may or may not even notice this, is I think to me there was just very little character development. For as much screen time as Norton and Father Fred shared, it's not like I didn't really get to know those characters as much. It's not until volume 2 that things start shaping up together and you get immediately hooked and you won't want to put the book down. And just showcasing some more of Sorrentino's and Dave Stewart's art together, and how it helps tell this story of these two worlds that are about to come together. And just more images like that. This one here, I remember, I think purposely maybe, it's supposed to look like Katsuhiro Otomo's Akira. Maybe, maybe not. But there's paneling like this all over the place. I think it's great, and adds more of a creepy factor to the story. Now, as far as the extras in the back, because you saw that the covers are all collected in here, right in front of the chapters. So here we have the color gallery. You have the variant covers here by Jeff Lemire. You got Jock, Tom Whalen, Greg Smallwood, Scotty Young, Dustin Nguyen, Cliff Chang. One of the things that I'm disappointed in, though, is that they aren't full splash pages. I was hoping that they would collect these in at least the covers in full splash pages, but they are thumbnails. Like they did in the trade paperbacks, they were full splash pages instead of using thumbnails. I wish they had gone this route. Just a small little gripe. You know, it's not like Marvel or DC doesn't do that. And this is the genesis of Gideon Falls, how it all started. It was a different type of story that Jeff Lemire was telling, and how it evolved into what it became. So you get to see some Jeff Lemire artwork back here. If you're a fan of his stuff, I'll skip some of that stuff, and then that's it. Then you get another image of the Black Barn. Now, as far as the binding, I'm sure you probably noticed that this does have a flat spine, like all other Image Deluxe Editions. The paper quality is this thick, glossy paper, and it is sewn binding, and here is that eye. The book has 432 pages. Now, how it opens up and lays over towards the very beginning again, and towards the middle, of course, it doesn't have any issues, but you do get some gutter loss. Like, when, especially the faces, which this happens a lot throughout the story, where the faces are right in the middle. You have to push down on it to kind of get both eyes, the nostrils, and the mouth in there, if you're a fan of faces. And then how it opens up towards the back. So I wanted to do an overview of this book because we got October coming up next month, pretty soon, right around the corner, and I wanted to start focusing on more horror-centric books. We got a few releases, and I'll be doing some hidden gems of some horror comics that I've enjoyed, probably my top 10 favorite horror manga, just some ideas that I've had. But, I mean, you know, this is a really good way to me to kick off the month of October. If you haven't read this, do yourself a favor. It's a solid read. And that, as they say, is that. If you're interested in purchasing this book, check out our sponsor, cheapgraphicnovels.com, your online home for brand new graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off cover price. They pride themselves on packaging your books so they arrive safely in an excellent condition, as well as prompt and helpful service. Check out the bargain deals for up to 90% off cover price. CGN is excited to announce that they are now taking pre-orders. They're making it easier for you to ensure that you don't miss out on the hottest releases. CGN is currently running a special promotion for you Minties. If you're a first-time customer, let them know that you were referred by Near Mint Condition at the checkout, and you'll receive a credit for free shipping on your next order. This promotion is valid for U.S. customers only. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discount and quality shipping and customer service that will keep you coming back for more. And that was the content, the page count, and build of this deluxe edition. Let me know in the comments down below if you're picking it up, if you've read Gideon Falls, if that's your type of story, and then what other stories do you recommend? We got October coming up next month, and I know I'm going to be doing a horror hidden gems, but I do want to know what kind of horror comics you all enjoy. I've done a top 13 last year, and I've done, I think, a couple of hidden gems with horror-centric books, but I did want to know what you all thought were some of the best horror comics out there. This was the Uncanny Omar. Thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, ring that bell for notifications to let you know when our videos are going live. We are on Spreadshop and on Patreon, amazing ways to support the channel. And more importantly, everyone, stay healthy, stay safe, and much love.